Hello, everybody. So, yeah, my name's Damian. I work as a software developer here in Geneva. I work in a bank as a consultant. But I've always had this interest in gadgets and VR specifically. My background is, I've built a couple of software companies that have done well or not well, but now I'm focused more on development. Feel free to constantly reach out to me. My LinkedIn and stuff is there, and all the other social media stuff is there. So feel free to contact me, and do check out the Gentekis website. Thank you so much for allowing this. So, imagine Damian, 14 years old, 1981, with his very first computer. This was my very first computer. It had 1K of memory. Just to give you a sense, my Apple Watch has 1 million times more memory than that Apple Watch, that the ZX81 had. And the point is that we get really excited about day-to-day. Oh, this is a new product that's just been announced at CES. And yes, there are changes that happen over time, every so often. But we tend to underestimate the changes over the long term. And that's partly be the theme of what I'll be talking about tonight. It's hard to you have to really take a step back and think how have things changed. So in 2013, Palmer Luckey created saw what's happening with mobile phones and decided to create a VR headset, which he called the Oculus Rift. And it was available to Kickstarter, and then you could buy it online, which is what I did. That's what this is here. Notice all the cables that come with it. And the reason is, you put this in, but this has to be attached to your PC and your computer with a VGA connector and all sorts of connectors. So everything was running entirely off your computer. But it was a glimpse of what things could be. And I have a friend who used the roller coaster experience on it and put it down straight, like, can't deal with it. It was immersive enough that you could actually get taken away with it. But it did have serious limitations. Obviously, that's, the effect you had to plug it into your computer, and therefore you had all these cables dangling behind you. And also the screen resolution was not enormously great. You had this, what you call a screen door effect, where things kind of look around you. Now, in 2014, I was working for a company in Silicon Valley called Evernote. I did not pay for the Google Glass myself, but Evernote paid for it, and I got it. Now, this is what this is. This was the next step along the way. And what happens is you see a little display on the top right-hand side, and it has voice control and some touch control as well. And it was pretty impressive. It was, in terms of what you could do, you could have navigation, instructions pop up in the top right-hand side. You could communicate to people. You could run apps that would run on the device. So overall, it was pretty nice. And it didn't overlay your display. When I wore it, there's like a sunglasses attachment. And a friend asked me, so are you going to get those? And he didn't realize I was actually wearing them at the time. But one of the things that I really liked them for was my children were small at that age. This is not my child. But you can interact with people. Here is me playing table tennis. And you don't have this big bulky device in front of you. I was just wearing the glasses and capturing what was happening around me, which was a really nice experience with interacting with people and capturing stuff without that. But we had a whole glass hole movement that came along, so they were called glass holes. This guy particularly ruined things for everybody, I would say. Robert Scoble is his name. This was a kind of a famous picture that went out, and after that, things took a society a turn for the worse. And society, I don't think, was ready for the idea that someone has a camera, on them all the time. The fact is now everybody's got a camera on them all the time, looking at their phone. You don't know what they're doing with it, but at the time it was kind of considered a bit creepy. But that wasn't the end of the story, because they only finished doing this in 2023. That's when they actually stopped selling the enterprise version of the Google Glass. So Google Glass carried on. You might not have seen it, but it was still being used there in enterprise scenarios. The next step along the evolution, I was in the Google I/O, which is the developer conference. I was sitting in the audience when they announced this, Google Cardboard, and everybody got one. Fantastic. It was a piece of cardboard that you could fold up. And that's what this is here. But the point was, you could take your existing Android phone and put it in, and the screen will get displayed, split up into two. And you put it on, and you wear it, and you actually have a reasonable, I mean a cheap, this is like $20, we got them free at Google I/O, but a cheap experience that let anybody pretty much play around with virtual reality. So it didn't last a long time, but it was a great democratizing kind of experience for Google, for VR. But then Samsung said to themselves, hey, wait a second, we sell phones, why don't we just sell a device that you could plug your Samsung phone into and plug it in there, and then you have the same kind of experience, but more seamless, more integrated. And that's what they did, but it only worked in specific Samsung's phones, but it worked well. So there was a theme there, which is, let's kind of take the phone and let's build a phone in. Well, what about if we actually built the phone into the device itself? And that's what we have with the Oculus Go. It's basically the equivalent of what you just saw there with the Samsung phone, but there is no detachable phone. The phone is built in. When you're wearing it, though, you look around and the whole screen moves with you. It's kind of locked. There's no kind of 3D experience where you can walk around in the world. But it was a pretty good experience. There was a controller. You could move around using the controller to control backwards and forwards. But then, at the same time, I think people worked, so that's that one. And basically, we're taking advantage of the advances in phone technology. As phone technology gets better and better, then it gets better. But meanwhile, Microsoft was doing stuff. I did not get their my mind's blank. Somebody shut it out. HoloLens. I did not buy their HoloLens. I'd like to tell you that it was because I was very careful with my money and not just splashing out on stuff, but I don't think it was available for consumer purchase in Switzerland. I did experience it. I worked at Nestle, and they had like a little prototyping factory, and they were using it for some of their manufacturing equipment. And it was a pretty nice experience to overlay virtual reality on the real reality. And again, there was other stuff happening with Microsoft. There were a whole load of companies that sold VR devices that worked with Windows. Again, there was a cable going along, you plug in, but they work. All the work is being offloaded onto Microsoft Windows. And they had a concept. Some of them had this concept called lighthouses. You place these boxes around you, and they kind of shine a pattern of lights. And then when you're wearing the VR headset, it could detect your position relative by using those lighthouses to work out where you are. So you could actually move around inside virtual reality based off of the position. It could detect it from these. So this was all Go. Microsoft even had a whole VR experience built into Windows. And then this feature is no longer part of Microsoft Windows. So unfortunately that got pulled, I think like a couple of years ago. But the story doesn't finish, of course. So this was, for me, the kind of the step into the modern era of virtual reality. And this is the Oculus Quest 2, which is this guy here. It's a standalone device. There is no PC. It has 3 degrees of movement. You can move around inside it, but you don't have to use those lighthouses. It tracks features around you, the pillar, the chairs, the people. And so it'll actually work out where you are based off of the features around you, which was really, really nice. And I had this, and the first thing that kind of really sold me on it is a ping pong game. We're playing ping pong against the computer, against a simulated computer. And it's super fast enough that you're hitting it, and you're getting the feedback, it vibrates, and it really is an immersive experience. No lag. It was a really, really great experience. And I showed this to a couple of friends of mine who were visiting. One, that's us, that's me back there. But these are friends I've known from student days, from the 1980s is when I first met them. And I showed them this, the table tennis game, and there's also a golf game. We all play golf, any one of us is really good at it. I don't actually play real golf anymore. But one of these friends was living in Australia, one was living up in the mountains in Switzerland, and here I am down here. But every weekend, since, 4 or 5 years, we've got together and hung out playing golf with each other in virtual reality. So this is, there's loads and loads of fantastic environments. This is a space station where you're trying to hit between there is low gravity mode, we don't play in that mode. There's a beautiful, beautiful a Japanese garden environment, which is absolutely fabulous. And these environments are they're just amazing. And they started to do deals as well. So there is a Wallace and Gromit, where these are techno trousers, and there's all you see the sheep, and you can walk around inside Wallace and Gromit's house, and there's all kinds of stuff built into it. And my point about this is really, you may think this technology is kind of dehumanizing, and takes you away, but this is how I've kept in contact with my friends. Friendship is so important, and men especially find it difficult to make new friends. So maintaining my friendship and chatting with these guys, it's not really about the golf, it's about being together. And you have a real sense of proximity, because they're with me and I can look over and talk to them, and the sound comes from the right direction. And you're kind of immersed in it. And we mock each other with golf, and we talk about what's happening with the kids. But it's a really great social experience. This is how we are now. And I'm still chatting with these guys every weekend. So yes, technology is amazing, but the sense of presence I have with my friends is what it's really about. You can actually connect the Quest to with a computer as well. It's called Oculus Link, and it plugs in by USB-C, and then you can run games on the computer. Half-Life Alyx is Half-Life. Some of you may be familiar with Half-Life Alyx. Is a game specifically made for it. And if you've played Half-Life, there's these little crabs that run across the floor, and they jump out and grab you on the face. You play that in 3D, and it's real, is all I can say. So, where do we go from that? This is the Quest 2 is a little bit older. They come out with the Quest 3 and the 3S. I have actually got the 3S. What's nice about it is you can pass through, you can press a button, and you can see your environment around you. So, you can pick up your cup of coffee or whatever, although your friends can always tell you when you're doing that, because it goes right back in the VR environment. This one has pass-through, but it's grainy black and white, whereas the 3 has a much better pass-through. So it's convenient for the dogs running around and you just want to see what's happening. Just touch a button and you can see the environment around you. So that's kind of all singing, all dancing, everything happening inside the device. But what about a different approach? So I'm just going to show you something. Bear with me. So this is an external display you can pick up. It's like 120 francs, and you can plug it into your phone or your computer. Anything that does display out over USB-C. And what's the point of that? Well, the point is, you can use it as quite a few apps actually use it in real life, in full screen. Sorry, but if you start watching a movie or a film, in this case Firefly, then it takes up the whole screen. So just as the reason I want to show you that is the next device I want to talk about, which is this one here, which is a company that used to be called XREAL. It is now called XREAL. And these are glasses that you can see through. I can see you, but it projects a screen inside, just below, and you can choose how transparent it is. And so I can plug this into my phone, and I can see my phone's environment on my computer. I can see my screen, and my dream is to sit on a train, plug in my phone, plug in a little Bluetooth headset, a Bluetooth keyboard, and that's all I need with me. It's just this little device, and I can remote in using Microsoft Remote Desktop into a Windows environment and program away without bringing any computer at all. Just my glasses and my phone and a tiny little Bluetooth headset. But there's no intelligence at all in this. It's purely a display. It doesn't even have a battery, no power. It's being powered from this. What they have done is that you can buy this little box that you plug in, and what that does is it'll provide stability. It'll provide a battery built in, and it'll provide a stable display. So if you're using it as a monitor, for example, it's actually kind of crappy, because without this, you move your head and the monitor moves with you. So if you want to look at the top left-hand screen, you can't just lift your head up. You have to kind of look with your eyes, and it's not great. Whereas this plugs in and gives you a much better experience. It has a lot more stuff in it. And the latest version of these glasses that they sell actually have essentially this built into the glasses, so it's getting better. So that's the XREAL Air. A friend of mine who's going deaf was interested in these and tried them out because there's software you can run on your phone which will show subtitles of people around you running on this. So she could be wearing this in a conversation, and she could be seeing what people were saying by reading the subtitles. It kind of got overheated a little bit. It didn't really work. but I think there's definitely something there. Ideally positional, you know, I'd be looking around and seeing subtitles from the person in front of me. Maybe nobody here is disabled, but you all will be at some point in your life, probably. You know, whether it's hearing, whether it's eyesight, whether it's physical. There's all kinds of things that happen. So I think this technology is kind of useful, you know, from that perspective. So not quite the final thing I want to show. These are called Ray-Ban Metas. These are glasses. They look like normal glasses, I would say, pretty much. They have a few things built into them. They have a camera built in. They have speakers built in, so I can listen to podcasts. And they can, yes, speak to my phone. So it just told me battery was 92%. So if anybody doesn't want a photo of them, I won't post it anyway. Hey Meta, take a photo. You might have seen the little light go off. It lights up a light when that's happening. There's AI functionality built in. I've just got a message from my WhatsApp. I just said, hey, you can tell him it's agreed. Anyway, I was in Germany, and I'm going to take them off because otherwise it's going to listen to what I'm saying. I was looking at a sign in German. I could say, hey Meta, look and translate this. And then translate it to German into English. You can say, hey Meta, look and tell me what you see. And it'll look at something and it'll do some research and it'll come back. So there's a generative AI. It's running, well, it's connecting to the phone, it's probably running in the cloud. Unfortunately, Meta, in their wisdom, decided to stop this from working in Switzerland, so it no longer works on this device. Even with VPN, there were some hacks you could do with VPNs. It doesn't work anymore. But you can use it, because it's Meta and WhatsApp own Meta, you can use it to stream live video. So I can be wearing this. Now I'm here. I was hearing Eminem, because anyway, it was running on my phone. It was the last thing I listened to. But anyway, you can stream live your video from the camera. You can record video up to 30 seconds, 33 minutes, but you can stream live. So last December, my mother's getting on the rock. She's old, and she lives in the UK. I was able to wear this from my work, where I work, near the jet door, stream the live experience of walking through the Christmas lights from across the Pont de Mont Blanc up to the Geneva train station. She could see what I could be seeing. I could chat with her about what I was seeing. So it was a really special experience that I could just share with my mother. So again, it's technology, but there's a real use to it, a social use to it. It's not just for the technology's sake. So I started off with a pair that are, these ones here, which are kind of sunglasses. And then I realized I actually want to wear them all the time. So I invested, in quotes, in a pair of transition lenses. So these will go dark when I'm outside and come in. And they're really useful, just even for listening to podcasts as I'm going down the street. The sound is really, really good.
Can anybody else hear it?
Well, so tell me if I can close.
Barely.
So it's not that you know. That's you can probably tell you can turn it up a bit more than that. So Ray-Ban, I'll talk a little bit more about where they're going with this stuff. But that's the other Ray-Ban Metas. Now, like I said, there's no functionality. Unfortunately, there's no kind of, what I meant to say was, there's no programming available to it. You can't actually write software for it at the moment. So how come two students created face technology using the Ray-Ban Metas, which was actually walking around, they could walk around and it would recognize people, do a search for them, reverse image search, and then give you the information about them. And they could go up that person and pretend that they knew all about them. And the way they did that was by streaming the video live to Instagram, and then watch the program processing the Instagram feed to recognize the images. So there was nothing actually running on it. So the last device that I have here that I'm going to talk about is the Vision Pro. And this is really inexcusable. You should not. Probably I shouldn't have bought one. I did buy one. It's ridiculously expensive. Now, I had a really good excuse, which is I wrote an app for it, and that app was featured at Apple's developer conference. Well, wait a second. Featured in quotes, I should say. Because if you zoom out, on the top right-hand side up here, half of my app's logo is going to be visible. There we go. you've seen someone whose app was featured at Apple Developer Conference. So I built this app, and yeah, I should just say it's an app that lets you use Alexa, which is Amazon's voice assistant. First of all, I created it for the Apple Watch, and yeah, I thought loads of people were going to do it, but it turned out I was the only person that made this app that let you use Alexa on your Apple Watch. It talks directly to Amazon services. And then it's for the phone, for the Mac, and then when the Vision Pro came out, I decided to make it for that as well. So let's give you a little demo here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen from the Vision Pro to, actually, let me just talk about stuff. This is the battery. So there has no battery built in. It's heavy enough without the battery. And then you can plug up, a second battery into it if you wanted to be, to last for longer, which I might have done before. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to, it tells me to move it down a little bit. I'm going to, so there's gestures you do, so I'm going to tap. There we go.
There's not enough light.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Well, it's not complaining at the moment. So I'm going to share what I'm seeing to you. So you guys are seeing. You're not. Oh, it's because it's the wrong screen. Sorry. I wonder. So it's going to just take me a second to switch off the display so that it's only got one display, and then I'm going to have to switch it back again afterwards. All right, let's try this. Still not. Okay, last chance, 1 second. You can't actually see what I'm doing for it. It's a little bit distorted. This one to be reflecting the display. All right. I'm expecting a big round of applause. It's using my eyes to recognize me. Okay. Okay, that's it. No, as I move my hand over and go like this, I don't know if you might not see, there's a little dot that appears. So I can just tap it, tap my fingers together, and then I have my various apps. So I can go along, for example, and I can put my home security cameras. I can just move them out there, out of the way. I can start watching a movie. I can look at Teams. I can look at photos. And there are various differences. So this one's actually in 3D for me. You probably don't see it that way, but it's so one of the features that's actually really impressed me about this is I'm looking at the X. Is Apple have this technology where they'll take an old or flat photo and translate it into 3D. And this might not sound great, but I look at photos from when I was a kid living in Wales, and I look at my kitchen, and I can see, there's a photo of my mother cooking in the kitchen, and I can turn it to 3D, and I can see these little objects on the windowsill. It takes me right back there, so it's really, really, really impressive in terms of how it works. It's really also very good for watching videos. And then also there's a thing called personas. I'm going to find persona, there we go. So this is if you're talking to someone else who's got a VR headset. If you look at my face, it's actually working on what I'm doing. Let's stick out my tongue. How do they do that? Because it's not recording me, it's generating it, automatically. If I wink, it works. So that's how it works. And the way I'm choosing things is by looking. So I'm looking at FaceTime there, and that's what's highlighted. I look up to sounds, and that's what I highlighted. And to select something, I just tap with my fingers, and it opens up. Apple are really, really strict in terms of what they allow developers to do. You can't see where someone's looking because it's creepy, because advertisers would use it to work out what parts of an advert really work. So there's no reason. It's really cool. Watching videos is really cool. Using an external monitor for my computer is really cool. But it's not worth $3,500 in my opinion. But I had that for it, and I had a new contract, and all kinds of reasons. So that's that. So
How was the Apple Vision Pro markets in the App Store?
no, zero. I mean, actually, I didn't show you. I meant to show you, but the idea behind my app was that you could bring your Vision Pro into a new environment. You're sitting in an office somewhere, and you could just place a virtual Alexa on the table beside you, and then you just look at it and tap, and it listens, and shows a display. But no, it's poor, unfortunately.
How about the Ray-Ban one?
The Ray-Ban, you can't make apps for it.
Okay.
So it's not. So this is just to show you the experience of using it as an external monitor. They've just released widescreen support. So if you're I don't know, working in a hotel room, for example, and you have your Vision Pro with you, it's actually a pretty good experience as using it as an external monitor. So this was at home, just using it as an external monitor. You just use my keyboard and work away within it. I don't know more to it than that, obviously, but that's that. And now you're going to get a look at my. Well, yeah, and there's my display at the top. And then there's my dog. There we go. He's not at all impressed. So in terms of the developer story around these devices, there is no developer story around Ray-Ban Metas at the moment. For XREAL, you can. These are these glasses here. The NREAL XREAL glasses. Here we go. These ones here. I said there was no intelligence inside the device, but if you plug them into some Android phones, there is a kind of an app that will run that can host your apps, written in Unity. MetaQuest, I had actually built apps for it. When I worked at Nestle, I had this idea for what happens, what it would be like if you. I was working in Nestle Research, and they're testing all kinds of foods, and I thought, what about kind of melding the virtual reality with the real environment? So you could pick up something from wearing your VR headset, you could pick up a real object and eat it, and you could change the color and other aspects of it. So anyway, I played around with it for that. And then the Vision Pro you can develop using Swift and Swift UI, which is what I did. My engine was written in Swift and Swift UI. The same engine that ran on the watch and the phone and the Mac also ran there with a slightly different UI. I actually developed the app for the Apple Watch using Xamarin originally, and then Microsoft dropped support for Xamarin, so I moved to Swift and Swift UI. There is something else though, there's quite a few things, but Meta announced these devices which look like glasses, not quite as unobvious as the Ray-Ban or Ray-Ban Metas, but they actually project complete overlay in front of you. They're really augmented reality glasses. You control them using a wristband which detects nerve impulses in your hand. So they're very, very, very impressive.
This was recently published, right?
Yes, like December time. I recommend you checking out this YouTube video that shows them actually in action. I think with Marcus Brownlee, MKBHD, who's doing them. There is a catch, however, and the catch is that they're not actually for sale at the moment. They were just a technology demonstration, and their estimate is that they would cost around $10,000 to build. So they're not coming out any time now, not this year, not next year, but they give you a sense of where things are going if you just throw essentially infinite money at these things.
So what was not in the Ray-Ban one that is in this one?
So it's a complete, so the Ray-Ban glasses, I should have mentioned this, they have no display. There is no display in this. They're purely camera, microphone, speakers, intelligence, but there's no heads-up display in this at all. It's an obvious thing that it will be filled, I'm sure, or this year, I should say. So we have the two extremes, the all singing, all dancing Apple Vision Pro, kind of reality overlaid. It really is really, really good reality. People can play tennis while wearing the VR. You shouldn't do it, for wearing the Apple Vision Pro, and the latency is low enough that you can actually do it. And then the other kind of extreme is the Ray-Ban Metas, which look like normal glasses but have some smarts built into them. And I really, really like the fact that these are unobtrusive. I actually use both. I use this when I'm commuting into Geneva, and I use the Quest or Vision Pro when I'm interacting with my friends or working. And then
How long can you use the Ray-Ban ones? For example, if you're in a conference and you want to record?
well, no, you can record for up to 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yeah, so not long. But I ran, this is a post, but it's the truth, and it's not that much of a post, but I ran the Geneva 20K, which is a run. It used to be called the Geneva Airport one. Starts by the Pont Bonpland, goes up around and back again. And I wore my Ray-Ban Metas the whole time. And I recorded my experience of doing it, people chatting. It's always very scary, it's kind of weird because people shout your name, "Hey Damian, go on Damian!" It's because you have a dossard with your name written on it, so that's how they know who you are. But anyway, so it was a good experience for that, and they lasted the whole time. And I recorded a lot of video and recording. And then we have the double headsets, like these ones here, which have their place as well. These are actually great for on an airplane. You just plug it into your phone, and you've just got a full screen display in front of you.
What's the name of this one?
These ones are called XREAL. So those two features, one where you overlay information onto reality, and then there are ones where you're completely immersed inside the environment. And I think there's room for all of these things. So just to go back to it, this is 2013 to now, so 11 years we've gone from this to this. And somebody asked me, what's the difference? Well, this had to be plugged into a PC with a massive cable, no battery, really low resolution, and how we have a standalone device such as the Vision Pro. So really, things are changing. 10 years time, who knows?
The device that is being used by the students to real-time
That was
people.
Yeah, that was the Meta Quest, but it was streaming to Instagram, and then they were scraping the Instagram feed, so there was no API, nothing wrong with it. So yeah, we've kind of gone a long way in these last 10, 11 years. So thank you very much. Please feel free to reach out to me.